Okay, Marc Maron. This next one has two of my favorite people in it. I love Marc Maron. He's bitter. He's angry. I know a lot of people don't like him because he shits on comedians that they like. I don't really think that far ahead. Here's what I like about Marc Maron. He's old. He's past his prime. He's bitter, and he doesn't try to hide it. There's nothing worse than watching a bitter, old, jealous actor, singer, comedian pretend not to be bitter, angry, and jealous. Maron comes out, and being bitter, angry, and jealous has been his shtick for at least the last 15 years. So he's got a special out now, and he has been roasting everybody. He's been going after Rogan, Tony Hinchcliffe, Matt Rife, bunch of other people. Well, finally, someone decided to ask him about Bill Maher, and he went off on Bill Maher. People finally decided to ask him about Dave Chappelle and Netflix, so he let Dave Chappelle and Netflix have it. One thing you've got to respect about Marc Maron is that if you ask him a question about anybody, he will answer it as honestly as he knows how. Now, some of you might like this, because while you may think Marc Maron's a douche, you might not like Bill Maher very much either. And he's going to hammer away at Bill. You know, a lot of people think that Bill and Marc ought to be buddies because they're both lefties, but they're different kind of lefties, as you're going to see here.
What do you think about Bill Maher?
I can't do it. I always had a problem with his tone. I think I did politically correct years ago.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
A couple of times maybe. Yeah. And I think I did real time maybe once or twice. Mm-hmm. But
that's when you were dating Ann Coulter at the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a dark time.
Mm-hmm. Bill dated Ann Coulter. Bill Maher dated Ann Coulter, and they're making that joke. Then also, Bill Maher also did the WTF podcast. He did Maron's podcast.
Tried to help her. Like, I feel with Bill that there is this, and it happens with some of the other boomers, there's this desperate chasing of relevance that, you know, changes someone's mind in terms of how they approach what they do, and also kind of makes the whole undertaking feel desperate.
This annoys me to no end about Marc Maron. What I hate about Marc Maron in moments like this, he can never just give someone the benefit that they think what they think or they feel what they feel. To Marc Maron, everyone's got a secondary motive for why they feel. If they don't agree with him. If someone agrees with Marc Maron, he takes them at face value and they're great. If someone doesn't agree with Marc Maron, it's not because Bill Maher and Marc Maron are two distinctly different human beings who believe in different things. It's got to be because Bill is a boomer who's trying desperately to stay relevant, and he's a warped boomer. Well, no, I think Bill has always valued different things than Marc Maron has. First of all, Bill's always been a political comic. Marc Maron hasn't. Marc Maron's an alt comic who does some political stuff. But Bill Maher has been chiefly a political comic. So yeah, sometimes as culture changes, Bill's going to change. What annoys me about Marc is nobody ever gets that grace. They all want to take him at face value. They all want to believe he's saying what he's saying, not because he's a bitter, washed up, never was, who's, you know, for a guy who's still doing specials and going on podcasts and trash talking the biggest comedians out there, for him to accuse other people of desperately trying to hang on to relevance, that's, pot, meet, kettle on that deal. And as far as Bill, I'm assuming he means COVID and speech and going to meet Trump for dinner and stuff like that. Why can't that just be how Bill is? Matter of fact, I think Bill and Marc Maron are peas in a pod in that I think they give you their honest opinion whenever they're asked for it. And so for him to go, well, it's this thing that boomers do. And the thing that boomers do is the boomers, they try to stay relevant. Well, now, it's easy for Marc Maron to say he's never been on the same level of relevance as Bill Maher. So, that's everybody in show business. Everybody who has a show or everybody who's been to a certain zenith in entertainment tries to stay there. Bill Maher isn't doing the Club Random podcast for his health. It's because he wants to stay relevant with a younger audience while he does his old media television show. And that nails down his older audience while his younger audience is more online. There's nothing wrong with trying to stay relevant.
And, outside of, his ideas about primarily, I think, wokeness, I don't know. It's just not for me.
Bingo. There you go, Mark. That's it. That's all we have to get to. It's not he's a crusty old boomer who's just trying desperately to stay relevant, says the bitter old man who's about to shit talk Dave Chappelle and Netflix also.
Know his joke right. He's got good joke writers who know how to write for his tone. But I can't see past, the desperation and what he's willing to do to stay in the conversation.
What he's willing to, oh, it's Pod Save America. That makes sense. I get it now. What he's trying to do to stay in the conversation, I mean, that's his job. Like, Bill Maher's job is literally to stay in the conversation. His job is to talk about what's going on in the news and the pop culture conversation. I mean, you can't win with Marc Maron. If you're not on Team Marc Maron 100%, then you must be pulling some kind of clandestine bullshit. So Marc Maron wasn't done at Bill Maher. He wasn't finished with Bill. They asked him then after that about Dave Chappelle. And of course, Maron has a problem with not Dave Chappelle necessarily, but more Netflix doing business with Dave Chappelle. Now, going after Maher, criticizing him for his takes, it sounds really bitter, but at least, okay, maybe you can say, Bill's philosophy, I mean, you can say it's changed. I don't think it's changed. I think that Bill just, I think the left moved away from him and he stayed where he was. But, okay, maybe Mark has some problems with some of Bill's opinions. When you go after Chappelle, now it just looks like you're bitter at a successful guy. And which, again, would be very on brand for Marc Maron. Oh, Baba Booey Hooey, thank you for the $1.99. So much fun you need to tattle to a judge. Look, man, if you can't see what a stalker is and that they're escalating and that they've never had an audience before and you're the only thing keeping them alive and they feel like they're your fucking girlfriend and they behave like the woman who shot Selena and the kids stuff, yeah, it's just smart. It's just smart. It's I know because they're in front of a microphone, you don't think they're mentally ill and you think they have their shit together. I promise you they don't. Okay, kiddo? This is what Marc Maron had to say about the Chappelle thing. He starts it off with fascism is good for business. He says Netflix will co-opt anybody that can take that algorithm. I used to do a joke about it. Oh, God. Oh, please. Please, Marc Maron, please tell me your great joke about algorithms and Netflix and taking anyone in the algorithm. I can't wait. He says Netflix can become Reichflix very quickly. I'll stay a subscriber. The pivotal moment was when they had pushback from the trans community about Chappelle. Now, here we go. I mean, it's predictable what side Mark is going to take on this. But Dave Chappelle's trans jokes were A, jokes he's allowed to make, no problem. B, the trans community, nobody stopped the trans community from pushing back on Chappelle. They allowed them to push back. Netflix heard them out, and then they said, Dave Chappelle's very popular. He's great for business. We'd love you to stay subscribers of Netflix, but if you don't, we wish you the best. Mark and that community has this idea that if they bitch, they should just get their way automatically. That's not how it works. You bitch, you make your opinions known, and then if you don't get your way, you say, fuck you guys, move on, and you go join something else. You can't force other groups, other organizations, other companies, other people to stop doing what they're doing that's successful to cater to you because your feelings got hurt. So, I think what happened was the Marc Marons of the world got so used to being able to go, I'm offended, push back against the thing, and then the thing gave them their way. And I think what happened is the culture shifted They realized that these people don't have as much power as they claimed to have, and they stopped getting their way. Kind of a boy who cried wolf sort of a deal. So they get pushed back. Marc Maron continues about Chappelle. They realized after several days that the community was not going to affect their bottom line at all, and they cut them loose. That is how fascism works in business. No, that's called the marketplace. The marketplace says, if I do this, will people enjoy it? They put out Dave Chappelle specials. People really enjoyed it. So they kept cranking out Chappelle specials. Some people didn't like it. Those people left. That's also the marketplace, Mark. What Marc Maron's argument is if I say something and I don't get my way, that's fascism. This guy has lost the plot. He says, who's getting the big deals? Which shows stay on the air? I mean, do you remember when Hannah Gadsby was getting specials and Amy Schumer was getting specials, and like people who weren't very good were all getting stand-up specials and they all had the same opinion over and over? Or do you only notice when it's someone you don't like? You miserable cock. You know, what do they keep repeating? That's them saying, we got this other stuff and we know there's a few of you, but we're throwing you a bone. So shut up. Throwing you a bone. Dude, the reason Chappelle's shit stood out on Netflix was because there was so little of it on Netflix at the time. That's why I don't disagree with Marc Maron when he says, every time I go to a club, there's some guy doing a trans joke. And I'm like, you don't have to do those trans jokes. It's hack at this point. I agree with him when he says that. It is hack to keep doing trans shit. It's been done. It's airplane food at this point. But the reason Chappelle kept getting all these specials was because the trans shit was like a 10-minute piece of a 60-minute, 90-minute special. And also, Dave doesn't talk exclusively about that. And he was he's one of the best ever to do it. And he draws a shitload of money. So he's in. And you know, the other thing is, if Dave Chappelle doesn't get specials at Netflix, it's not like Marc Maron will. So for a guy saying that Maher is doing whatever it takes to stay relevant, while he sits there and like, he's not trashing shitty unknown comedians. He's trashing the biggest names out there. Rogan, Rife, Chappelle, Maher. And I'm not saying these four belong in any ranking with each other. I'm saying those are the people he's going after. So I mean, dude, Maron, he's just about done promoting his special. He'll go back to where he was before, and that's bitching out on his front porch at his neighbors, I'm sure.